Yes, hello, I am James Rowlands, and today it's the WNR483. It's NXT Update, but I am not alone. I have a pleasure to be joined by our resident NXT expert and New Japan deity, is, of course, Monty. How's it going, man?
Oh man, I'm doing good. You know, the G1 just kicked off. I know this is not a New Japan show, but whenever stuff like that is going on, I know that I'm in prime pro wrestling season, especially in the summer. So, you know, yeah, man, I'm excited. You know, we got some really high quality episodes of NXT to get into, a lot to catch up on. So, yeah, I'm always happy to be back and and talk about NXT again. Like I always say, cradling that child that we've watched grow and evolve and be a little shit for a little bit, and then now it seems like it's getting its shit together. So,
Well, like you said, we stuck with it with the terrible twos, and now it's kind of growing up a little bit more. But like you said as well, it is a huge summer, and we are going to cover it all on the Double Up podcast. Like I said, with the and SummerSlam coming up, and of course, All In and All Out.
yeah.
It's just going to be
Whew.
action packed, and of course, with NXT, the American Bash, which is going to happen, but we've got 6 NXTs to catch up on the road to the Bash. But before that, some sad news. Former WWE star Mike Manitor Halak passed away at the age of 55. He was a former USWA Unified World Champion, best known as Manitor. His daughter announced her father passed away in his sleep on July 11th, 55 years old. His combination of size and charisma immediately captivated fans worldwide. He took to the ring in a giant bull head to highlight his half-man, half-Manitor persona. Yes, I did say that. He spent time at both WWE and ECW and faced some of the biggest stars of the generation like Bam Bam, Razor, and Bret Hart. This is kind of a strange one, Monty, because it's not like it's... I don't want to disrespect Manitor, but it was definitely, like we said, it is sad to lose someone in the professional wrestling family.
Yeah, I think it's more so like, even like what we were talking about with draws. Sometimes you hate to when some of these things happen, you hate to bring up their career because you don't necessarily know if it's a if it's a high notes that you want to talk about it, or you definitely don't want to be negative about it. But yeah, I agree. I mean, for someone, especially for me, I really only got a chance to know him in retrospect and listen to people talk about that era of wrestling when everyone had an occupation. Had guys working as dumpster men, Abe Knuckleball Schwartz, and all of the insane characters that used to walk around the WWF.
Like
Yeah, you remember that?
Yeah.
WWF. These both guys, by the way. But yeah, incredible. It seems like looking back, it's just like they really thought this would work when you look back at it from my point of view. So like, but I gotta commend them. There's something about it, like in wrestling, man. When you get these gimmicks, it's kind of like what the guys were doing in Maximum Male Models. It was a horrible gimmick. We know that they got strapped with it, but sometimes you just gotta go out there and try your best and make the best out of it. And I think that's kind of like what you can remember some of these characters, even if they aren't the legends that are like whatever that you can think of off the top of your head. You got to give them props for going. I mean, look at what you mentioned. He went out there looking like a complete idiot, but you got to believe in it, and you got to try to do whatever you can to try to make it work. Oh, you remember Bastion and Booger? Like, come on now. Stuff like that was going on. So it was a very interesting time. But yeah, man, it's always hard when you lose someone in the wrestling family like that, even if it is a guy that may not be well remembered, or if he's remembered, it's for like a lot of the wrong reasons. But it's also that's also a part of what makes pro wrestling what it is too. Great, those crazy gimmicks. Like for example, I'll never forget the very first time I saw the Shockmaster's debut. I'll just never forget it. It was a hilarious thing that you will never forget. So as crazy and as horrible as some of this stuff was, it's still talked about right now. It's still memorable, and it's always sad when you lose a member of like you said, the pro wrestling family, because we're really, really tight knit. We're weirdos when it comes to like our fans. All of us, a lot of us were outcasts for a long time for liking and participating in professional wrestling. So we're really, really close really, really tight. So it's always hard when we lose someone. But yeah, man, like I said, I'll never forget Minotaur, even if it was very embarrassing.
Well, I always remember Stan Lee saying once about comic books. Picks up a comic
Yeah,
book, it's going to be their first one. So I'm sure there are people listening and people
right.
remember like their first wrestling match had like Minotaur in it. You know, in that period.
Right.
So again, it's like for every who had Minotaur, another generation had Naked Midian. So like I said,
Yeah.
there is a real cross stitch, but he definitely will be missed. But like I said, there's 6 episodes of NXT, so we're going to start June 6th with Baron Corbin marching to the ring and said the NXT roster have grown lazy and arrogant. Ilya Dragunov interrupted, challenged him to determine the true number contendership for the NXT title. Baron made a great point. He was the last person to pin Roman at that point. Obviously, WWE Creative heard it and thought, right, we better sort that out. Can't let Baron have that for much longer. But the question is, Monty, we've been doing this for a while. Like I said, it's our baby. Has the hunger in NXT changed over the past few years? Is Baron right?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of stuff. It's a very, very complex, but I do think he has a point when it comes to the attitude. I think back in the day, or like especially in those early days of when it was just on the network and it was a shorter show, and you had the Finn Balor's, you had the Kevin Owens, the Sami Zayn, Cesaro, all the people that you remember from that era that really started to get these takeovers and all that, taking off the way they did. It was a hunger there. They had a pride to prove that they are the NXT, that brand that they were on. So also with the ladies, Bayley, Sasha. I don't want to leave, them out too because they raised the bar 100%. Also, but what I'm trying to say is like it was a pride about NXT that they wanted to prove that while they were on NXT that we are the best brand of wrestling, and that kind of continued on, into the Ciampa and the DIY eras and stuff like that, and the Garganos, and and just the many different eras. It kind of continued on, but then it had a period of time where maybe they got complacent, maybe some of their egos did kind of come into play, and you can kind of see that, instead of trying to show and put out the best product every single time, like the era that Baron Corbin was in NXT in. There's many reasons for it. That's why I say it's all up, all types of stuff, changing direction when they went to 2.0, the pandemic, like all types of things really, really affected and changed the nature of it. And then it's also generation. I mean, now we got people like, I love Thea so far in her career, but we got people like Thea Hale running around who's 19. Like the mentality is gonna be completely different because they're a lot greener. It's a lot younger. A lot of the talent that was running around in that golden era of NXT were veterans, people people who have been doing this a long time. Gargano, Ciampa, a lot of those guys have been doing wrestling. Kevin Owens, they've been wrestling around the world for a long time before they kind of became in the forefront. Even Finn Balor, like I could keep going down. Shinsuke, everyone that you could think about, all these guys kind of had a name and a stature about them before they even showed up. Well, after 2.0, a lot of that, a big bulk of the roster, and after all the firings and all the turnover, that mentality changed. A lot of these people are still trying to learn the business in general, not just show that this brand is the best wrestler. They have to learn how to wrestle before you can even get to that point of trying to do that. And maybe you have a little bit of entitlement there. A lot of people who are older, we love throwing around entitlement to describe the younger generation. So it would fit right in. So I really liked the promo because I thought it was really strong. Even if it's a heel mindset, I thought that what he was saying is not wrong and very valid in a lot of cases, especially when you think about his perspective, that era of NXT that he was in. And then when he hammered home a couple of times in another promo, how long it's been. Like, it's been 8 years. Yeah, things are going to be different. You know what I'm saying? It's been a long time.
But like you said, there's a difference between getting talent like Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens in compared to Damon Kemp. So again, it is,
right.
They even joke about Carmella Hayes having, there really is no main event and talent in NXT anymore. It's just like a developmental brand which has changed. So if, like I said, we're going to make it into a third brand, need more kind of competition for places, which I'm sure, will come along before soon. I mean, look at someone like Ilya Dragunov, and he had the massive black bruise on the right side of his body from Battleground. And we saw after the face-off, Trick Williams clotheslining Corbin out of the ring. I loved Trick wanting Baron. I think apart from Shah, Trick but maybe my new favourite corner guy ever. I can't think of anybody else that just he's just there for him. The Tsar didn't have a great day because as he headed to the back, he was ambushed by Bron Breakker. You then saw Duke Hudson with Thea Hale with a tough training session with Charlie Dempsey and Drew Gulak. Diamond Mine versus Schism. Niall had Ava locked in the Dragon Sleep. He saved her. Ava headbutted the rival with Metal Master still to win, but Diamond Mine looked great. We saw Challenge Stacks Lorenzo met Tony D in jail and promised to make Gallus pay. Do you know what? Tony D, I never liked him, but the Cash Dashian, whatever he was trying to say, and I was like, I don't know if he's meant to be funny or not, but I'm here for this at the moment, and I don't know why. I shouldn't be, but I am. Not Stacks. Fuck Stacks, but Tony D, a little bit for me. We saw Blair Davenport beat Danny Palmer. I don't know if the smoke machine worked in that match, actually. And Trick Williams was given first shot Baron Corbin. One end of days later, and Baron had been more successful in NXT than his past 3 years on the main roster. He will fight Dragunov next week. Did Corbin forget his gear? Because you're looking at it and you're thinking, Baron, maybe try a little harder,
Right? T-shirt looked like he was in his nightwear, like something you about to wear to bed. Or something like, I don't know. You're 100% right. I think it's a perfect. Now in hindsight, though, I think it was like, he's literally in between who he is at this point, so it makes sense. But also, I want to mention Trick. By the way, you say cornerman and backup guy, and he's 100% right there. I'm 100% with you with his managerial or just being the guy next to the guy right now. But man, I must say, I don't know if it's level up or whatever it is he's been doing every now and then he's on main event, but he has improved. And I think in this match against Baron Corbin, you can see flashes that, man, he's not just gonna be that corner guy for a while. They're gonna start using him more and more, not only on his own, but maybe next to Melo too. So you can see a little bit of that in this match.
Yeah, 100% with that. We see Mustafa Ali. He would finally win gold in NXT. The NXT North American champion was ready to hand the free agent a title opportunity, but Ali wanted to earn it. He then beat Joe Gacy. And it's nice Mustafa Ali goes to the same hairdresser as AJ Styles. Because wherever they're going, they are getting a great job. Like lions, they are. They really are.
Yeah.
Backstage, Joe Gacy needs to really re-evaluate even what was costing him wins. Probably being shit. But who knows?
That might be part of it.
Yeah, it might be part of it. And he convinced Bate and Lee that need to fight one-on-one. We get hard-hitting home truths with Jagan Lee joining Nathan Fraser as senior international correspondent and Mayfan of Noam Dar. Now, if this segment was 15 years ago, Dragon Lee would have been slated in this. He would have had Mexican get-up, do you know what I mean? Flag, sombrero. Did accept the challenge with complete confidence. There's no stopping the metaphor, he says. Check, please. At this point, I put, it's going to get over. Didn't know what was going to happen, But it is quite funny because in metaphor, I am the Noam Dar of the group. Which, again, is interesting.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
Good
I
point.
mean, we can let the girls argue who's Lash Legend. We can...
I don't know. I won't order on to dye his hair back black. But, I'll take it for now. I'll take it.
Well, Eddie Ford...
Please dye your hair.
Eddie Ford beat Damon Kemp with Kemp's foot on the rope, so this ain't over. Realising too many teams were closer than them in NXT, Idris Sanofi and Malik Blade agreed to fight each other next week. After a series of distractions from Axiom, he saved Scripps from a mugging at the hand of Deba Keita. He caught Keita with a return somersault back elbow before stacking up the big man for a surprise 3 count. After his loss, though, Kato made Axiom and Reggie pay, laying them out. Axiom took the loss last time, and it's not going to get better. And I think, you know me, I know you, Monty, but I think they've dropped the ball a little bit with Axiom and the momentum that he did have, especially with his performance at Deadline, with the crowd was seemingly behind him. I'm not saying he's not going to get to that point, but at the moment, with Dabo Kato and Scripps, it's not looking good.
Yeah, but I think they went off script. No? Okay. No? Okay. Anyway.
No, only me.
Yeah, I don't. I trust me, man. I really call him Reggie all the time. Booker T had a hilarious soundbite about Reggie at one point about making like he can't believe he wants us to believe that his family members call him Scripps. And Vic was like, well, what do they call him? Reggie is what they call him. Anyway, I'm sorry. It was great. Yeah, but yeah, I agree with you about the momentum. Axiom seemed like he was right on course for either maybe a legit run at the North American title or whatever. Honestly, anything is better than being wrapped up in this that he's in right now, that he's been in. So I agree. They kind of let that how over he was cool off a little bit. But I think honestly, at this point, they like, we put him in the ring with the right guy again. He'll be right back home.
Yeah, true. Well, we get the NXT Women's Championship number contender battle royal. I will say they have nailed Lyra's entrance. When she came out, I was kind of, oh my god, they've got it now. This character that we've seen in NXT UK has now kind of, been adjusted somewhat, and it worked really, really well. Aura Mensah saved Jakara Jackson from elimination. Later, Feroz and Leone took up both Jackson and Lesh Legend. The Hills eliminated right afterwards. Blair Davenport arrived to watch from ringside. Perez rolled out to attack her. Tatum Paxley eliminated herself to help Davenport. Why? This is infuriating sometimes when there's no...
At first, I was like, yeah, okay, well, she got a partner. And then after this, they don't even have any interaction, I don't think. So I'm like, so she did that for nothing.
Just because they had mascara on. Dark mascara. That's the only connection.
Right.
JCJ tried to eliminate Lyra, but got sent to the floor where Hez's takedown. Jade then kicked Valkyrie off the ropes for elimination. The favourites began to fall. We started to panic it might be Dana Brooke. But Thea Hale appeared, eliminated both Cora Jade and Dana Brooke for the biggest win of her career. They filled with Chase U students at the end to celebrate Hale. Thea Hale's another character. Like we said, Chase U, I would be the first to admit, a year and a half ago, 2 years, I was not there at all. I know you were an RJ Chase fan, but I cannot believe that Thea has got to this position of support behind her with this gimmick. It's just, I can't believe it's working.
I would like to pat myself on the back and say that I was there first, but I'm goofy. So I'm 100% like you. I 100% agree. I didn't even think it would get to this extent, to where you can get legit title shots and legitimately want people to, people will want you to win. So I 100% am with you, especially with her, character. I thought maybe it would come off as too annoying, but they've done a masterful job, even with Duke's inclusion. Like the entire time Duke has been in it, me and you just been waiting for the hammer to fall, and it's just like he fits right in there, perfectly so far. And I have to say, and even though I was a fan of Andre Chase, even when he was losing and all of that, I'm always into the vignettes. I chuckled at them all from the very beginning. It's very, very cool to see an organically built, type of babyface group in this way. And I 100% agree. It was an awesome moment for her in this spot to win and get an earned title shot. That's like, again, honestly, I thought it would take time. I thought it would take a long time, especially knowing her age, and she's legitimately 19 years old. So it's like you thought it would take a lot more time, but she has grown in however long it's been. I guess you're right. Over a year or so, it's been going on, and I think it's kind of cool that they have credibility now. When it started out, that they seemed like it was just going to be jobbers or just a joke vignette. They've stayed with it. Like again, sometimes you just gotta stick with it and let the cards fall where they may, And I think all three of them, have knocked it out of the park right now.
And it is even like, thinking of main roster aspirations, like an Alpha Academy Chase U collaboration or whatever it is, would be so much fun as characters, even though they've obviously still got stories to tell on NXT. But the biggest story of the night was Bron Breakker shockingly challenging Seth Rollins to defend his heavyweight championship on NXT. And we then move on to June 13th, start of a six-man action. Wesley, Tyler Bate, Mustafa Ali versus Schism. Messy final sequence with Joe Gacy nearly pinning Wesley, but Tyler Bate ran in to knock out Jagger Reed with a Tyler Drive 98 to win. Backstage, Ali convinced Lee to defend against Bate next week with him as a special guest referee, guaranteeing a fair result. Looks like Ali has a plan forming. Ilya Dragunov tried to rush the ring after Bron Breakker arrived, but officials pulled him back. Seth Rollins interrupted the Titan and agreed to a match next week for the NXT World Heavyweight Championship. Now, Monty, has anybody been more over on a Titantron in NXT? Seth Rollins. He was more over than most of the talent on the show. Just that is the star power NXT's been crying out for.
Yeah, and I think that's what I've known. That's the one. I'm not gonna say it's a drawback because I still love all the inclusion of the main roster so far. But that's the one thing you notice immediately. You can tell when a main roster, even when Ali came out of the crowd, like someone who's been losing regularly, in his main roster appearances, when he shows up there, Corbin too, even though it's mostly jeers for the most part, the reaction that the main roster guys get is like, wow, you're 100% right. You can tell the difference, but you like Seth Rollins, it was on another level. Like he was like, it's like that's like all. I guess, especially in that small arena, it was like Austin '98.
Yeah. It really was. Shawn Michaels announced the next 2 weeks would be NXT Gold Rush. The first main event would be Rollins versus Breakker. And Carmella Hayes defend against the winner of Corbin versus Ilya Dragunov. Those were good two main events. I don't think it's like I said, but Bron, what else can he do in NXT? And this is literally the last thing he can do in NXT. Maybe we see Drew Gulak and Charlie Dempsey taunting Hale about poor technique in the Battle Royal. Hudson called Andre Chase again, begging him to return. Another thing we didn't think was going to come from these guys. Thea Hale used that anger and crushed. I mean, thanks to Dana, I suppose. I mean, Brooke can't even get that right. You don't need to manage someone who already has one, if you know what I mean. Like, there's no point in that. Thea Hale, though, had help today from Charlie Dempsey, Drew Gulak, Andre Chase in spirit, Duke Hudson, Dana Brooke, and the ref who took Cora's kendo stick. So it does take, people to build a village, as it's known. Stratton vs. Hale was announced for Gold Rush. Then we get the Heritage Cup, Aura Mensah on behalf of Noam Dar versus Nathan Fraser. Noam Dar announced he was attacked by Fraser backstage, and we need Aura Mensah to step in to fight for his honour instead. Now, Monty, before we get to the match, why the fuck would Noam Dar do this? Because he's held the title for about 2.5 years now. And I mean, he's known Aura Mensah for about, 2.5 months? Why would you put that much faith in someone? I'm not saying I wouldn't do it, but I wouldn't do
it. My thing is that I wish that they just could have, I agree. I don't like, if he's hurt legitimately, and this is the reason, like he got hurt in the Melo match or whatever, or whenever it could have happened, and that's the reason why I would really prefer it that way, because you're 100% right. It just seemed like a very, very, it just seemed like a problematic decision from the beginning. Like, it just didn't make sense. And then in this way, I understand that you got an angle whenever Noam comes back that he can always tell Nathan, like, you did not beat me. But at the same time, it don't really work when you willingly put all of that responsibility on Oro. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I don't understand it. I wish he kind of got forced into it. Like, he came out, and let's say Sean or someone didn't believe that he's really hurt. And then like if you are really hurt or whatever, then you'll let Oro defend it for you. Like say it that way instead of him doing it all on his own, like it was some type of perfect master plan. And then that's another problem I have with it is how do you think Noam is? Have Noam know how he has become the longest reigning? Where's the shenanigans? They did it for one fall, but you need more than like I wanted him slide a crutch in the ring, anything. As eventually, because again, you need to help him out in this case. But you're right, he put a whole lot of blind faith in Oro, and predictably, we have the result. So,
yeah,
but yeah, it is what it is. I don't know. I don't agree with that decision either.
No, well, Nathan Fraser managed to win 2 falls to 1, even though Metaphor tried to help, which was pointless. So yeah, after all that time, I mean, Darby's injured, like I said, might have to look at the bigger picture, but it was just such a kick of teeth. And it's not having to go at Nathan Fraser. Fair play to him. And especially when his mate Seth, it's almost like, Nathan saying to him, Seth, he's going to be in 2 weeks. And they're like, right, let's put the Heritage Cup on him. let's show him that we're using him.
I don't want to accuse them of that, but that is exactly what it looks like.
Yeah. We see Axiom and Scripps tag team together, taking down Dabo Keita, hitting the golden ratio to win. Afterwards, Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza laid out the superhero team. That's Axiom's job. Get all these over. That's all you have to do. make it work for every single one of them. We see Edris.
It'll be easy if they just start calling him Reggie again.
Yeah.
I promise you. Anyway.
Oh, God. Well, we see Edris, Anofi, and Malik Blade went to war to get closer as a tag team. With the latter stole a pinfall victory with a small package. The teammates hugged it out afterwards. Anofi confirmed he knew Blade's birthday. Booker T announced that Anofi and Blade, Josh Briggs and Brooks Jensen, Hank Walker and Tank would fight in the Triple Threat next week, where the winners would face Gallus the following week. Of course, a brawl broke out between them. Roxanne Perez beat Tatum Paxley. Afterwards, Perez called out Davenport, promised payback. Davenport talked about why Davenport, I'm not saying she's got more rivals than Kenny Omega right now, but, she's talking about attacking Nikita Lyons, Wendy Chu, so rude. When those fuckers come back, Flair's got
right
to answer for.
I 100% agree with you. It's like at some point, it's like I don't know if I would have took credit for all of them. You know what I'm saying? We don't know. Everyone's come back, but literally, you got 3 people that when they decide to come back, whether it's to help Roxanne down the line, maybe Blair has a plan. Again, I think she needs to recruit Tatum or recruit some more people. That's what I would do in this situation. Get some girls on your side because you have a troop of girls who all gonna have a beef with you. So
it's gonna end up like Logan Paul at Money in the Bank if she's not careful.
Right.
It's gonna be bad.
Soon as she gets a title shot, 5 women return.
We see Damon Kemp harass the referee's locker room about his loss to Eddie Thorpe. Thorpe arrived and said he would face Kemp in any kind of match. And I tell you another thing about NXT, and especially this month, I love how LGBTQ NXT is. With the amount of romances. And I'm an Attitude Era kid, and to think now with these relationships and romances that we have, of course, Tony D and Stax, talk about how romance, even in prison, Stax will not kind of give up. Von Wagner telling Robert Stone, it was always you and no one else.
It was always you.
It was always you, right? Anofi knowing Malik's birthday and not quitting him. He said, I'm not going to quit you. I know your birthday. Again, brilliant. And now we get a video of Bronco Nima and Lucian Price and how they got together. They say they have each other, and that's all they need. People try to keep them apart, but they're still together, and NXT is not ready for them. What heartwarming time we live in, Monty,
It's kind of weird when you put it all into perspective like that because it's just so much at one time. I didn't even think about all of the when you put them together. It's like, damn, they might be doing this on purpose. I didn't think about that. But yeah, I agree 100%. It's kind of it's a funny way to build not only a tag division, but even a managerial relationship gets through in there too. So it's just they're covering a lot of bases here.
Party
Definitely
the
feeling.
I'll say that.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of they call it a male soap opera for a reason, and I'm starting to get those soap opera vibes.
Well, and then we had the number one contendership match, Baron Corbin versus the Dragunov, and even with injured ribs, he had Baron Corbin on the ropes. But timely distraction from Bron Breakker set up Lazar for End of Days, which sealed the win. Afterwards, Carmella Hayes took out the Lone Wolf and stood tall. Baron in shorts, he has definitely forgot gear. I know Corbin is one of the safest wrestlers to work with, so it's really funny putting him in the ring with Ilya Dragunov because he's like the opposite. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. I mean, what do you think? Because EL obviously can take defeats in a weird way, but we don't want to see him lose too many times.
Yeah, and I think they're tipping their cap on the developmental state of it. So, he's Baron Corbin. He loses all the time on the main roster, but you bring even a loser on the main roster down to NXT, and you see the NXT people still have to step up to his level, even if that does kind of contradicts the whole third brand thing in a way. But man, and the thing is about Corbin is I've always been a decent fan of his work. I don't hate Corbin. I just hate, and I think he probably at this point hates a lot of the things that has been done with him. Like he just it's always indecision. Like I'm not trying to say he's the most interesting wrestler in the world or whatever or none of that, but I also don't think he's horrible, and I also think the way that he commands the ring, it's just some guys are just naturally bad guys, and from day one he has been really, really good at that. And also, I think the thing is about Dragunov is you can't, like you said, you got to pick your spots when it comes to him losing. And I think they really already built in a great excuse for him with the whole Braun situation and the injury that was coming. Well, a lot we already know he's banged up to hell from Dijak. So then you add on top that Braun apparently speared him through the concrete, as Braun put it so eloquently. It kind of makes sense that he wouldn't be able to muster up a victory in this situation. So in this proper context, it's not a big deal that Dragunov loses to Corbin, even though if you look at it on paper, it's like, damn, what the hell are they doing? Dragunov losing to Corbin?
But again, like you said, he can recover. Listen, the story both men are on. I think, like I said, that's the important part. As we move on, June 20th to start a Gold Rush. Every NXT title on the line in the next 2 weeks. Don't mention the women's tag titles. NXT North American Championship to start off. Wesley versus Debate with Mustafa Ali as referee. And Mustafa Ali got involved in the action often, simply making the match all about himself. After Tyler Bate connected on the bop and bang to send Wesley to the floor, Ali pulled the champion back in the ring. Lee hit the cardiac kick to win. And I don't know if it was because of Ali or just kind of starting Gold Rush, but I was maybe expecting a little bit more, but we kind of know the end game with this at this moment with Ali and Wesley.
Yeah, and I think this is another situation where they kind of booked themselves into not really a corner, but it is a room where it's we don't want Tyler to pick up too many clean losses, and we definitely don't want Wesley to lose the belt here. And like you said, because the end goal is to get Ali involved, and as you said in this match, he was always involved. But I did love the fact that he was going to screw either guy. For the most of the match, he pretty much decided that I'll slow count for you. I'll slow count for you. I'll speed it up for you. I'll speed it up here. So yeah, it was pretty interesting. It was a nice little dynamic to see him kind of play with the champion and the contenders the way he did. But the end goal is kind of obvious here. Ali is playing a game, and we'll see if he comes out the winner of that game.
Well, Duke Hudson gave Thea Hale a big introduction. Chase U came out to celebrate with her. However, Drew Gulak and Charlie Dempsey just stood miserably on the side. Tiffany Stratton mocked the whole pep rally, but she got too close to Hale, who made her tap out to the Kimura lock. So, like we talk about Monty with Thea, there's a difference between having a title match and actually seeing like a threat, and especially with this segment, you're going, well, do you know what? Maybe not next week, but in a little while, Thea is going to have that momentum by her side. Someone that hasn't got any momentum is Gigi Dolan, and her art was not liked by Kiana James. Great. Joe Gacy promised to reevaluate after another loss. Backstage, Valkyrie warned JC Jane about talking smack about her, but I wouldn't go into the car park, Lyra. That would one place after having an argument with someone in NXT. I wouldn't go there. We then get number one contendership match: Jensen Briggs versus Hank and Tank versus Anofi and Blade. After taking out Hank, Josh Briggs and Brooks hit Tank with a heart attack. Idris broke up the pinfall. Malik then hit Tank with a frog splash to take the win, deservedly so. And Angel Garza and Carrillo confronted Gallus backstage, promised to take the titles. Backstage, Damon Kemp told Eddie Thorpe he wanted to face him in a Raw Underground match. Now, at that point, I was like, what? But let's just leave it. Let's just see. Let's just see if it works out. Roxanne Perez charged past him. We see Gabe Stevenson agreed to help Thorpe train for his fight. This is crazy, obviously, in a couple of ways. First, it's his brother. And second, whoever thought Raw Underground would be used ever again. Like, ever. No one ever. Somewhere Shane is picking up a royalty check because of it. In a private locker room, Seth Rollins told Nathan Fraser he was proud of him. He then met Mello and Trick, warning them to be careful against Corbin. But the only thing I was thinking is, how tall is fucking Seth Rollins? He's massive. Did you know he was that tall?
How short? It really makes you think. How short is Mello? No, but yeah, definitely. He definitely looked pretty big right there, and I think again that's kind of like one of those things. You don't realize none of these guys are really small, but like you don't realize it until you get up on a lot of these guys. That, oh wow, he's legitimately 6'2" or whatever stuff is listed at. So no, he's actually he's bigger than you would expect, I believe. So I guess that's kind of cool. I'm still getting used to that, but that's just how I think because Melo is like a legitimate 5'9" or 8, and I'm like I think that's kind of how he looks.
I thought Trick was quite tall, but he's just not. He's just mellow.
He's not. He's not. Melo's just a shorter guy. It is messed up because he's like average American male height, by the way. But everyone on the internet is talking about how little he is. He's just screwed up. Like, come on, man.
Well, I'll tell you what was screwed up as well. The Cora Jade versus Dana Brooke match. I don't know what happened here. Dana Brooke with the knee in the ropes. Looked like she was trying a cartwheel. Why would you attempt a cartwheel after injuring your knee? I don't know.
After the knee thing, yeah.
Had to be carried out by officials, but usually they'd probably just stop the match. And the fans really hate her. Really, really hate her. Brought back.
I felt bad for her.
Cora Jade with the right knee. Just some of the effort, but it's some wrestlers it's just not natural. And again, I would never say to anybody to give up, but like a whole character reevaluation, like Joe Gacy. That's what Dana Brooke needs to do.
Yeah, she has to lean into it. In my opinion, she has to lean into it. Like, Mandy Rose wasn't natural, but like once she leaned into it and actually believed who she was, yes, they protected her at the beginning, but you seen she also gradually improved. I think that's what has to happen, in my opinion, for Dana. But I've always been a defender. Not that I always thought that she was great in the ring or anything like that. It's more so just because, honestly, I knew from the moment they called her up back in the day that it was too soon. They called her up way too soon, so she had to learn on the road, on the fly, just to help them fill out their women's roster. And I remember she was literally listing her the things she's been involved in. And like she was like, from teaming up in M, I'm like, okay, I remember that. That was in NXT. Yeah, I remember those days. And then she said Charlotte's protege. And I'm like, yeah, that was the beginning of her run on the main roster. Then she skipped all the way through the 24/7 championship. So they just showed all those years are in between those runs where she was literally doing nothing of note that she could even bring up to say. So it's just like, at the same time, I'm not saying it doesn't have anything to do with the quality of her as a wrestler, but I also know that you can't get better as a wrestler sitting backstage watching everyone else wrestle. It just doesn't happen. You can't. You're not gonna be on the spotlight, and then for them to bring her back down to NXT now, this many years later, people are gonna expect you to be a lot better than she currently is, and I understand completely. But they also didn't do her any favors with this whole situation because, honestly, I believe the injury part. I think some of this was trying to garner sympathy for Dana Brooke, and I just don't understand the whole let's get up out of the stretcher and continue the whole thing, continue the match. If it's legit, take her out and let's finish it and it's done, or let Cora Jade attack the gurney and then we can finish the segment that way. Anything would have been better than that. But if this whole thing is just trying to show her toughness or whatever, then they really, really failed in the execution of it because it just didn't make sense when you think about, like you said, not only doing the cartwheel after the initial tweak, but just everything about the presentation. It's only one person that I want to see get up off a gurney and be surprised off it. And you remember what happened to him the last time when that happened? When Mick Foley got up off that gurney, he had fell off for 20%, out of the air. So it made it surprised the hell out of us when he got up. It was hard to be in disbelief about that. But doing it after your knee is hurt, you expect anyone to really care that she laid it in more on your leg when you're obviously hurt? Like no one's gonna boo Cora for that, especially since we already know she's not the likable person in this situation. So again, I think they did her a disservice with the presentation here, especially if this all went to plan. Now, and then they did her a disservice if it didn't. If she got hurt and they made her and she had to come out and finish the match, I disagree with that too. Like, let her go backstage and finish the segment another way. So again, everything about that segment was just executed wrong. It was just, I don't know why it turned out the way it did.
It's weird to want the fans, when you see like an old dog injured, for them to want it to be taken around the back of the shed and shot. But like we said, there might be hope.
Very sad.
Von Wagner, backstage, finally opened up to Mr. Stone about his childhood surgery, about having to have facial reconstruction, skull reconstruction surgery, being bullied by kids when he was young. You bastard, Monty. This made me cry.
I bullied him too.
You were such a fuck. I hope you feel like a piece of shit.
It's sad that I didn't regret a second of it though. Honestly, I really don't. Like, I never said anything about that man personally. I just said he is not for me, not compelling whatsoever. But it is nice to get that. It's crazy it's crazy how long you have to tell everyone that get this guy off my TV screen for them to try to finally show that he has a personality or has a story underneath just being a big guy. A lot of the stuff I used to say was, man, they really like Wagner because he's a big guy. That's the only thing they told you about.
I can remember
he's big and mean.
You saying he's got a weird shaped forehead. I remember you saying.
Yes, I said that. I said he had the Neanderthal look, and now I got an explanation for it. I'm not taking any of it back. I said it, and now it makes a lot more sense. Did I feel a ping of guilt looking at the baby picture? Maybe, but how the hell was I supposed to know that? Again, so like whatever. I don't have that much. I don't have that much of regret. It's just because it is what it is. But I will say this: this is the most compelling by far that he has been. I did not skip his segment immediately upon seeing him like I have been doing for months. So that's progress.
Yeah, without doubt. Another person improving is Baron Corbin. He was not impressed by Carmelo Hayes' insults of his happy Corbin gimmick and talked up everything that got him his money and success. In the end, he called Melo insignificant, easy for me to say, with a tone so serious it actually cut deep. We then see Lash legend Jakara Jackson beat Feroz and Leon. Channon Stacks, Lorenzo caught Joe Coffey in the parking lot and threw him in the car's trunk. Of course, why not? And in the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, Seth Rollins versus Bron Breakker. Rollins made Breakker wait and basked in the crowd, singing until the bell rang to signal the in-ring instructions. The champion was working a little slow, selling the rib injury from Monday. Breakker ducked a frog splash and locked in a Steiner recliner. Rollins made it to the ropes, but then took a Frankensteiner into the military press power slam for a great near fall. Rollins countered the spear with a knee, then hit a pedigree for a near fall. The second attempt at spear hit, but he couldn't get the free, and then finally it was Seth with a curve stomp to get the job done. This was just really enjoyable, Monty. It felt like we were watching, I don't know if the old NXT or just like main roster stuff,
Yeah, I think this proves to me that now that he's badass Braun Breaker, or now that he finally has, he's starting to pick up the pieces when it comes to character. Because honestly, even when he was a babyface, I figured that he was good enough in the ring. I know he had room to improve, but I thought that he was definitely good enough. I think watching him with a guy like Seth, and I know it is Seth Rollins, and making people look good is kind of like been his thing for a long time now. But man, I don't think he carried Braun in this situation. I think Braun really showed just what he can do. And it was a really, really fun, like you said, really, really fun match. Kind of flashback to a classic NXT, or like you said, just a really good main roster, like a Monday Night Raw main event or something. It's kind of what it gave me the vibes of also. So yeah, I mean, it was awesome to see him, and then to kind of like to put into perspective what Melo and Finn is gonna have going on. Like to see those situations and to see those guys with those guys in particular, you can just see that. Oh yeah, they'll be on Raw and SmackDown before you know it, doing this with other guys. And I think Braun Breaker, especially in this new incarnation of him, or newer incarnation of him, he's really been. This is probably some of the most compelling work he's been able to do on since he's been in NXT. And I think this match and a match we'll talk about later probably has been some of his strongest showing. I don't know if I just like him better, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I tend to like the WWE big guys or athletic guys better in heel mode. I don't know what it is. They just seem to book those matches a little bit better than they did when they're supposed to be the unstoppable, I can overcome everything babyface. I think actually it's funny. Melo is a great heel and was awesome as a heel, but I think the role reversals for those guys when Braun and Melo fits them perfect. I'm not saying this will be what they do for their career, but it really fits how they wrestle and who they are. Even with Melo's confidence and cockiness, since he's not just like, white meat, I'm smiling all the time, happy go lucky baby face who overcomes everything. It kind of gives him a nice edge that a good babyface really needs, especially in this day and age. And the same thing goes for Braun Breaker. He's nowhere near as bland as he was now as in this current format. A lot of his high impact moves when he's being vicious, when he's jeering with the crowd, he seems to be right at home, or at least more comfortable in this role. That's just what I've seen from my estimation. What do you think? I think Braun Breaker right now is excelling in this new character.
Yeah, like I said, and I think it's down to the kind of cockiness, the kind of power moves as well that they're allowed to use. And like you said, when they become babyface, it's a bit more generic. And I think, like I said, Carmelo Hayes is. Well, the thing with Hayes is that he is the guy in NXT at the moment. Like I said, with Braun, he's on his farewell tour, and Hayes is just he's loving his role. And, sometimes with the weight of expectation, people can fail. And it sees Carmelo. So, like I said, with Trick, who's upping his game as well. And what makes me worried is what NXT will be like once those get called up to the main roster. But I suppose that is saying in a few months rather than now, because then it's like, well, what's the main event picture going to look like, without this?
Joe Gacy versus.
Well, yeah, what I'm saying. I just don't know.
Yeah.
But we'll move on to Gold Rush Week 2, June 27th. NXT Women's Championship starts off Tiffany Stratton via Hale. The challenger had Stratton in the Kimura lock, and Dempsey pulled the rope away from the champion, but Hale did not want to win that way. She made Stratton tap out low to the Kimura lock, but Gulak was arguing with a referee who did not see it. And then Hudson Gulak Dempsey calls a full-blown scene at ringside with Tiffany Stratton rolling up Thea Hale to survive. Afterwards, Gulak and Dempsey attacked Hudson, but Andre Chase made a return and saved the day over his team. So, few things here. Thea Hale can beat the champion. Tiffany, I thought, was really good. And I never thought Duke would be happy to see Andre come back, but it was still a nice moment.
Yeah, it was a beautiful moment. It was cool to finally get what I always kind of expected, because I know Dempsey's character. Dempsey is as cool as it was to see him be the straight man to what Chase U has going on, and him and Gulak trying to continue to be who they are. You can always kind of see that they were, like you said, mentioned in the pep rally. They were definitely miserable, so you can see that the differences in what they would want versus what Chase U is all about. I was nice to see that come to a head. What I really like the most about this is they reinforce. You mentioned she can beat the champion, but they reinforce that in more ways than just the obvious tap out. You know, she tapped out, but it's also in the way that Tiffany won. Like, I need to get out of this ring with this girl because I don't want to be in that Kimura again. I can't take the chance of doing, like, you know, she beat Lyra Valkyrie with her, prettiest moonsault ever and all of that. And like, she didn't even try to beat her definitively because, again, I think like I said, let me roll her up. Let me get this right now while she's distracted, while this is going on. And I can, like, she literally escaped. And okay, if all things considered, this was no distractions whatsoever, Thea Hale has a chance and could be your champion. So I really think they did an awesome job of, again, you mentioned this with the Battle Royal, but they continued it on here of just establishing a credible contender, someone who, even if she don't win it anytime soon, you know that it's going to be a beautiful moment when she does finally climb a mountain like that, because she's already shown you that she's capable of it. And you're right, seeing Andre Chase come back and Duke actually being happy to see him and them, coming together and kind of reuniting, it's a great way of kind of picking up the crowd. Even though the crowd wasn't necessarily down that she lost, but it was a good way of just kind of getting the energy back up, getting him back in the fold. And, now they're a united front against Gulak and Dempsey, and then even, Tiffany going forward, because after that, if you're Thea, you're like, oh yeah, I gotta get a shot at her again, some ways, in shape or form. So yeah, man, I think it was a very, very nice segment, and they did a good job of building up and everyone in this situation. I think everyone kind of got an upgrade, like even Dempsey and Gulak, and with their true intentions now being shown, or not even true intentions, but just that edgy side that we know that they have. We know who Gulak is. Gulak gonna hold that hold a little bit longer. Dempsey's gonna try to wrench it and try to hurt you. So I love that side of them coming out versus, just helping out Thea. Because honestly, at first, when it was kind of weird. You kind of can tell by Duke's reaction when he found out she was training with him. It was weird at first that she was even training with him. So, but it was cool though. It's cool that she picked up a tool that now she's gonna be deadly to everyone with that Kimura. So I think this whole entire situation has helped everyone, and also the champion too, because now she has a rival going forward.
Yeah, and just imagine if Duke Hudson had turned on Andre Chase within 3 or 4 weeks of this angle, where they thought we were going to point, but because they've extended it, all these things can kind of blossom as it happens. We see Kilana Jordan talk up Dana Brooke in the training room, and they agree to work together once the veteran healed up. Can't wait for Dana to turn on her. The NXT Tag Team Championship, Gallus versus Edris Sanofi and Malik Blade. One thing I know about Blade and Anofi is they do not talk to each other about their entrance or ring attires. You couldn't get 2 more different wrestlers. Look, I know Idris probably gets a little bit more money, so he can get more fancy stuff, but at least color coordinate, guys. It really is. You want to be tag team champions. That's what you want to do. They had Coffey and Wolfgang on the ropes. However, Channon Stacks, Lorenzo got involved. He took out an offer. He's setting up the title holders to hit the Gallus Gate for the win. Joe Coffey was nowhere to be seen. Later, we met the Don in jail and played with a where the underboss said he was a new Don. So is Stacks working for Gallus, or is Gallus setting up Tony D? Or do we really care? I'm sure we'll find out by the end of the update. We see the Diamond Mine interrupt Schism family meeting with Jagger Reed was up first, followed by Rip Fowler. They basically swerved us here as well, because even with, I think it was Jagger Reed not being in the kind of Schism outfit, and I thought we do October 14th, the former Grizzled Young Vets, their contracts expire. And when it was set up for Creed Brothers versus Dyad, loser leaves NXT, I was confident it was going to be one way and one way only. We'll find out, though. An interview with Mackenzie Mitchell, Metaphor tried to get Noam Dar to move on from Heritage Cup, but losing his baby clearly affected him. Of course it clearly affected him. He's been champion for 2.5 years. You don't think it would. Bronco losing Price. Prince even talks up their dynamic. Hank and Tank, as well as Axiom and Scripps. Watch the promo video closely. But Axiom, this is one bit I did like, doesn't want to be a team. He wants the cup. He even says the cup is calling to him. So hopefully there's the end game.
I love it. And Reggie's chasing him like, because obviously one of you guys needs the other more than the other one does.
And in a surprise appearance for Ripley, warned Carmella Hayes of being involved with the Judgment Day's business. We then see NXT Heritage Cup, Nathan Fraser versus Dragon Lee. Fraser sold the first pinfall off a sunset flip in the second round. Early in round 4, Dragon pulled out a fall off the Dragon Bomb, but the Heritage Cup champ survived with a last-second roll-up with a side fall in the 5th round. I mean, how can this not be good? You know, the Heritage Cup takes a little while to win, but it's a great match. My only issue is Dragon Lee, because that's the second big match he's lost in a row now.
Yeah, if it's one thing that NXT is going to do when you established yourself around the world, not all the time, but if it's one thing they will do, they will immediately humble you and be like, no, this is NXT's Dragon League. You're gonna have to earn these victories, I guess. And like you said, it did help that that Nathan Fraser is just so good. You know, it was kind of cool. It's funny to me though. The first thing I noticed about this match has absolutely nothing to do with the match, other than the fact that I was like, oh, they put the Brazilian with the Mexican guy, and the Mexican with Nathan Fraser for some reason. So like, wow, I wonder why they do that. But anyway, that's besides the point. The match itself, like you said, really, really great stuff. It does suck that Dragon Lee has lost 2 of these, but you know, one of them he got totally screwed, and in this one they did a good job of making it very, very competitive, and like it was a beat the clock type of situation. But not even just that, it was a bit like a roll up right at the end. So like it wasn't, again, they're losses, but they're not. You know, with context, it's like, okay, you can swallow those, you can accept it. You should still be able to build him up from there. But you know, again, it's another thing too. I think it's another one of these situations where I think it's kind of like with A-Kid. They feel like if you give them time, you put them in the ring, Dragon Lee will be fine. And I don't necessarily disagree, but you're 100% right. You know, you can't make that a habit of not falling short, because again, it can affect you. But we'll see. I think it's just a long game with Dragon Lee. You know, even if I know, because I really am a fan of his work, I know that he's probably one of the closest to being ready that's already on the roster because of the talent that I know he can bring. NXT isn't about what I know he can do in the ring and all of that. You know, it's about you know, a lot more than that, characters and telling stories. So we'll see what they decide to do with him going forward. But eventually he's going to have to stop being a respectful loser or just a friend in this situation, or just give up on the cup. Maybe it's time to go after Wesley, or, you know what I'm saying? Or, you know, something like that. Or take a shot at Mello or something.
Just be like,
tag title, anything. Yeah. Switch up your goals.
Yeah. We see Gigi Dolan beat Kiana James. Afterwards, James laid out Dolan and dumped paint on her. Yeah, that'll work. Gable Stevenson helped train up Eddie Thorpe in his match for NXT Underground. He promised to be in his corner. Mustafa Ali and Tyler Bate both wanted an NXT North American Championship match. As they argued, Wesley just walked away. Ali versus Bate was announced for next week. Mr. Stone found Von Wagner struggling with his backstage. Who doesn't? Come on, we've all got trauma. Blair Davenport attacked Roxanne Perez during NXT Level Up early in the week. It's announced they would fight next week. Jace Jane talked a big game, but she's not ready for Lyra Valkyrie, who caught with a forearm. Rhea Ripley was impressed with Valkyrie. And then in the main event, NXT Championship, Carmella Hayes versus Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin came out to one of his old themes in black gear that was reminiscent of the Lone Wolf gimmick. So there we go. It was all leading to this moment of him actually having not bad attire. He actually did.
What I love is that it's a section of fans who have no clue who the Lone Wolf is. That's just how long it's been, probably. Like, that's the thing about that. I know it's a kid out there like, what the hell is he doing? Is this new?
To be fair, that is an excellent point. But Carmella Hayes was outmatched by Baron Corbin often in this match. Closest near fall of the match was after a pretty deep six with an extra rotation from Baron Corbin. But when it matters, Melo don't miss. He caught the Lone Wolf with DDT on the apron and nothing but net in the ring to win. The show ended with Bron Breakker yelling at Michaels in his office, then throwing down a camera and promising answers next week. But if we just look at the last 2 weeks, Gold Rush, I think, has been a massive success and something they should definitely do next year, in NXT. Because, again, it worked and it brought eyes to the product.
Yeah, I think overall, the concept in general just is a nice one. It's kind of funny that Battle of the Belts is soon, because that's basically what Gold Rush is. So I think anytime you let not only just storylines culminate, but even if you don't, even if it's not about the storylines all the time, even if it's in line with a story, but it's continuing. It can be continuing the story, but it's also putting a belt on the line and getting us competitive action. I think that's always going to be a plus. And you're 100% right. It definitely got a lot more attention on the product. And as far as this main event match here goes, again, Baron Corbin flashed a lot of that potential, a lot of what I think makes him great. At times, and he was just a really, really good heel here with a nice, strong offense, and Melo sold like $1 million for the most part in this match. So it ended up being a really, really compelling main event, and I agree, man. This was definitely a success, and they should continue it. Annually, hell, every few months or so, do a Gold Rush show. Why not? Just put the belts on line and let them go out there and do what they do.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. We move on to July 4th, NXT penultimate episode, Roxanne Perez versus Blair Davenport. And Perez thought Davenport with all that she had, but still seemed to be weakened by recent attacks from her rival. Well, that's what I'm going to give to her, because ultimately Davenport took her down with a pair of V-triggers with Tate and Paxley nowhere to be seen. I don't know what's more surprising, Blair winning or how clean she won.
Yeah, it was surprising, but again, I think, like you mentioned, not only the prior attacks, but it's just the approach in general of having the veteran, because I think they've done a good job so far of portraying Roxanne as young, as it kind of not impulsive, but she has that youthful, that fire that can get you in trouble. And I think honestly, it's also just a strong moment for someone like Blair, who coming back from this return, not only after making so many enemies, you wanted to kind of pay off for her in this situation, so you can establish her as a main bad, person in the women's division coming up. So I think that's kind of like what had happened, but it's definitely kind of shocking. She is definitely, I think Vic said it best. Like Roxanne has definitely had a roller coaster of a year, and I think I kind of would it kind of reminds me of what young athletes who play basketball, even American football, a lot of times as a rookie, you start off very, very strong, and you kind of hit that rookie wall, as they call it in our sports. And I think that's kind of the way she's been booked here. Like she's had a very, very nice run, was champion, but have kind of ran into that metaphorical wall that she's gonna have to find a way to overcome. And I think since she is a babyface and really, really good at that, I think people can get behind her redemption. That I don't know when it'll come, but she will definitely have to get back. But I think you add another woman to the list of people that Blair is going to have to watch out for going forward, though.
Yeah, well, like you said, though, after Gold Rush and it being the kind of success, I'm always worried about the next episode of NXT. But to start off with kind of like Blair Davenport, Roxanne Perez, who we think very highly of, and there's no, if they can stay injury-free, they will be huge stars, not only on NXT, but kind of main roster. So it's interesting to see the kind of story built there. Like it is with Mustafa Ali and Tyler Bate, who were fighting up next. Both fought hard throughout the match. The former finally got his opening when he tripped the latter on the top rope and hit a 450 splash to win. Afterwards, Ali finally declared he wanted a shot of Wesley at the Great American Bash. So another loss for Bate, but Mustafa Ali versus Wesley is the match to make, really, at the Bash, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I 100% agree. I think you mentioned it was shocking how Blair did it. this would definitely, even though I guess you could say pushing him on the ropes was a a dick move or a dirty move. Okay, you'll take that. Okay, cool. Maybe that was the dick move, but honestly, I think it's like, even like Booker said, it was actually just smart.
Yeah.
It would have been more of a dick move to just push him off and just let him get hurt. But like, dropping him down, it's just a smart move in my opinion. But yeah, if that wasn't squeaky clean, it was definitely a little bit dirty. Let's say it that way, or at least mildly dirty. You still have to clean it up.
I've got to protect my guy.
Right. And yes, and that's another thing. You want to protect Bate, so I 100% agree there. But this is definitely where we were going at. This is the finished product that we're going to get. And honestly, we'll see, man. I think this might be the most threatening this belt has been, even though, to be fair, Wesley is putting this belt up for grabs a lot. So we'll see. We'll see what Ali can do.
It's going to be interesting. And again, I think this is not over for Tyler Bate. So whatever happens between Ali and Lee, Bate will be waiting on the other side. We see Tiffany Stratton interrupted Ivor Nile during an interview. Nile warned Stratton that she would make a tap out if they fought. We see a vignette taped in his own home. Baron Corbin talked about his mission to change the image of himself in NXT. He started burning all of his old gimmicks. We were there for like 20 minutes. I couldn't believe how many bad gimmicks Baron Corbin has actually had.
Yeah, and honestly, the thing is, I was like, now what makes you guys think the next one is going to work to where he won't have to burn that one? Because that's the thing I was thinking about it. Because once you see the entire spectrum that he's been on so far in his career, it's like, wow, they really have seemed like they've tried everything. So it's like what? I'm like, damn. So the next one has to be good, because I'm assuming you don't intend on burning that one too, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, what can they come up with? Like, unless it's like Baron, Constable, Lone Wolf, you know what I mean? Put all the gimmicks together and try and just like one really long King, King Happy of Baron Corbin, like, but
bum ass.
Exactly, bum ass. It's going to be work, but again, Baron can do it. And I'll tell you someone who looked great. Booker T. I know you've mentioned him a couple of times, but he looked jacked. Like, not many commentators, like, imagine Michael Cole wearing a vest on commentary. Like, it just didn't work. Booker looked like he was having a time of his life and ready to wrestle. Like, one more match.
Yeah, he was pumped. Definitely, man. It's amazing to see, too, because, now he hasn't been a full-time wrestler in a long time. So to still be in that shape when he's basically just training people and working every now and then, it's really, really cool to see, man.
And like I said, we've been lucky enough on NXT. Of course, Vic Joseph has been a constant, but remember the kind of Beth Phoenix and Wade Barrett combination, and even kind of like Nigel McGuinness and people like this, and now it's nice to know we've got Booker. However long it lasts, like Booker is making NXT, even in his commentary, entertaining. So
I agree.
Credit there.
And Vic is just awesome too.
Oh, yeah,
like you said, ultimate chameleon. See, like I thought he couldn't have better chemistry with with someone after Barrett, or like you said, his time with Beth and all of that. But for some reason, him and Booker seem to get on quite well too. It's been very entertaining.
Yeah, really good stuff. Debuting Kelena Jordan beat Tatum Paxley. Afterwards, warned Jordan that she chose the wrong friend in Dana Brooke. She backed off when Jordan challenged her for a match. Andre Chase recognized Duke Hudson and Thea Hale's great work in Chase U. They turned their attention to taking down Drew Gulak and Charlie Dempsey. Carmella Hayes and Trick Williams challenged Judgment Day to meet in NXT next week. Finn Balor accepted. Lucien Price and Bronco Nemo will debut next week as well. NXT Underground, Eddie Thorpe versus Damon Kemp. Kemp dominated this match using his amateur wrestling background. However, after Eddie Thorpe injured the right arm of Kemp, he found an opening. He locked in a triangle choke and battled his rival with elbow strikes until the referee called for the bell. This was different. They took all the ropes off. If you've never seen a Raw Underground match, anybody listening, took all the ropes off and had the wrestlers around ringside. The German to the outside looked wicked. I don't know if it's just because we never see that because of obviously not having ropes, but it looked good. Two things for you, though. First off, did you notice the kind of dropping in the taped commentary? Like it was like a video game at some points. And also, Gabe doesn't want it public knowledge that Damon is his brother. That's the only thing I can guess.
Yeah, and you know what they had? It's just it's very, very funny because even in the video packages coming into it, he's like, yeah, I say hi to his parents. And it's just like, Gabe, come on now. Like Damon's parents gonna act like we don't know. Okay, that's fine. Like we don't have Google. That's cool. That's fine. That's fine. I understand this is Damon Kim, not Bobby, but sure, they just look alike. But that's another thing
you
too.
Can
like
say
the resemblance is also there.
Like
the resemblance is also there. It's like when they were standing right next to each other, because I think at one point Damon just kind of looked at him. And I'm just like, yep, they look exactly alike. Get them away from each other if you're trying to convince me.
It's just, I don't know what. I mean, again, and Gabe suplexing 4 guys afterwards, looking all right, and then gets asked what he wants and going, yeah, I'm probably going to go to the Olympics. I don't know. Like,
it's taking more time off.
It's almost like, they give him a chance. Oh, here you go. Here's a contract. And he's like, well, it's okay, right. We give you 6 months. Right, 6 months later, you're coming back. Well, it's just like, again.
It's taking so long that I'm way more interested in Damon at this point. Like I'm like, yeah, whatever. Give me what Damon's going to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, now I understand why they separated them name-wise, because you'll be sitting around waiting forever at this point for them to come together as a team. So it's just like, yeah, whatever. Like he can come whenever he decides to come. I think it has to be a reason too why he hasn't been used. Even besides just wanting to do the amateur thing, I've read reports that he hasn't been progressing like they thought in the Performance Center. But Damon has been working. We see him all the way in NXT UK. So they have to have liked so far what they've seen from Damon, and I even have to say that he's improved leaps and bounds since the first time I saw him. So, yeah, man, we'll see what happens with that. But it's very off-putting, especially when you think about it. It's weird to me because I never forget it. Like, this WrestleMania, man, they walking this man out weirdly in segments that he didn't have anything to do with. It's and almost, now he's just, who cares?
It's like Kurt Angle in ECW, where they wheeled him out the gold medal, and he went, well, crucifixion, not really a huge fan.
Right.
But it is going to be interesting, and like I said, it's the best Eddie Thorpe had looked as well, so getting interesting times ahead. It's just a shame Damon Kemp's not but like Diamond Mine, because then that would have made, you know what I mean, or a group to improve himself on. Lyra Valkyrie beat JC Jane. We then see Shannon Stacks, Lorenzo, and Joe Coffey visit Tony D in prison to give them the news they had agreed to a match. If the underboss wins, the Don goes free. If the family gets a title shot. If Coffey wins, Tony D has to face trial. I didn't know the American justice system worked like this, Monty. It's weird because over in Britain we work a little bit differently. But I didn't know
I want to tell
you to a match.
The American justice system is a lot of things, and most of them are not positive. But I will not sit here and let this just go on like that. No, it don't work like that. It does not work like that. My whole thing is the way my mind works. I'm just like, he can tell you anything he wants, but what makes you think he's gonna retract his statement that or whatever, whoever snitched? Like, at the end of the day, they have to have some type of evidence to be holding Tony D this long. Usually they have evidence because, like, I'm assuming if Tony D really comes from a family that he's portraying that he comes from, they have lawyers in their pockets for the most part. So the fact that he's still in jail is telling me that they have evidence or something, right? They can't just have a statement from somebody and just go off that. That does nothing in real life. But this is wrestling. This is the wrestling world's justice system. And honestly, after DX went under the ring and it was a whole courtroom under it, the wrestling world system in general is just completely different. I mean, think about all the time someone back in the Attitude Era got arrested for assault, like they used to take Austin out. I seen Vince get out, and they're fine because a week later they're cool.
Straight back out, you know. It's like,
yeah, I guess the charges got dropped. I don't know.
The only thing in the Attitude Era worse than being arrested and taken away by police was being taken away by an ambulance because you would drive the ambulance back in the arena in an hour, and that would
Right.
that would be
It was like, what poor EMTs lost their job
on the
because
side
they
of the
let
road
you steal the
just because he took an ambulance.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, talking about weird things or sad things even now, and Noam Dar looking at a picture of the Heritage Cup.
Oh man, it broke my heart, man.
It's just, come on, like even Metaphor going, oh, you don't need that, and it's like he does.
You don't need it.
He really does.
It made me get mad at them. I'm like, man, maybe they're right about him buying the wrong friends. It's like, if you knew anything about this, you would know this is his life.
That's his lowest lane to his Superman. Like you can't
Come
get
on,
anything
man.
else. Just Gigi Dolan vandalised the office of Jane, leaving a note. It's nice for her to leave a note. Von Wagner was supposed to have a match with Big Body Harvey, but Harvey just talked too much, and Wagner decided to powerbomb him through the announce table, which the crowd loved. In a loser leaves NXT, the Creed brothers versus the Dyad. Ivan R took a Ava, but someone in a metal mask headbutted Julius. This set up Ticket to Mayhem to seal victory for the Dyad and end the NXT careers of the Creeds.
Whoa.
The Creeds walked out dejected a crowd chant of thank you, Creeds. And I realised WWE or NXT had fucked me again. What about this? This was shocking. Shocking.
Oh man, that finish that definitely was shocking. I did love the match too, because honestly, as the match was going on, I was like, "This is cool." You kind of get a chance to see what makes the Dyad or Grizzly Young Vet so damn good, especially on the way out. I'm just like you, assuming that this was on the way out. But yeah, that finish was a very, very nice swerve. But the beauty of this match is that even if you did assume, like we did, that this was about the Dyad, it makes sense for the Creeds. This is another one of those situations where, when it comes to the Creeds, you can make Mello is kind of still in the middle of it, but he'll be here. And then you got Braun Breaker. Like those four guys so far, they've done pretty much everything that you're able to do really in the NXT format. They seem to have it all together for the most part. So it did kind of make sense, but I did kind of think that maybe you could have made more time for the Creeds to finally get back to the top of the tag division, maybe again, because they were still down there. You can make the case that they still have a little bit more time too. But it was very, very shocking, but it also was a very satisfying conclusion, because it's like, okay, and then it made me also wonder, does this mean that they've convinced the Dyad to stick it out or come back? Have they gave them a new deal, or is this just a compelling way? Right, yeah, a compelling way to do that, and then eventually they'll get replaced. Right. Eventually they'll get replaced. So I don't know. We'll see. The Colts number is growing, even though we only know four roots. So that's another thing I noticed.
I tell you something, though, there was a big guy who was doing the eyes really well. So whatever advancement talent he is, like, he was doing his job. He was getting, that deserved it. You mentioned Bron Breakker there, and Bron Breakker wanted to focus on his future beyond NXT, but Ilya Dragunov interrupted to face down his rival. A brawl broke out, and officials could not separate him. Locker room had to get involved. What's crazy, though, is, and again, something I hate, especially getting older, is when a young guy kind of makes points that pisses me off. And Bron Breakker highlighting he almost beat Seth Rollins with a spear after only 78 matches in his career made me fucking sick. Thinking that it's only 78 matches. He also,
oh my God.
He also said he beat LA Knight on his debut. And so, again, you can't argue for Bron. 78 matches in his NXT run. 70.
I think they wanted us to forget he beat Gunther.
Well, this is the same. Well, Dragunov said he wanted the NXT Championship, and Breakker was the only man in his way, and he promised to eliminate him. And so we move on to the last NXT, July 11th. The Judgment Day enjoyed a loud reaction from the NXT Universe. And I've got to say, Judgment Day have been all over the place at the moment.
Yeah.
Raw, and again, this is a funny thing, because there are people arguing about Judgment Day being a knockoff House of Black. What, a year and a half ago, maybe even longer.
Right, at first, yeah. At first, yeah.
And look at
they have shattered that. They've absolutely shattered that mold. Like, I don't hate House of Black. I love them from a talent standpoint. But just like I know, character-wise or at least storytelling-wise, man, they haven't even scratched the surface of the heat and just the development so far that everyone in Judgment Day seemed to have gotten. And so, yeah, it may have started off kind of cultish or dark like in that way, and I guess I could understand it, but really Judgment Day definitely came into their own and made their own thing. Nice, even without Edge, too. Like, even when you think about the fact that this started with an Edge turn, and just to see where they are now and how much of a prominent figure. Like, we have the Bloodline storyline pretty much being the main focus on SmackDown. But if you're on Monday Night Raw, yes, we have world champions. Yes, we have Cody and Brock and whatever else they have going on. But that is the Judgment Day show also. So it's been wonderful to see just how great everyone so far is doing. And they've hinted at it in the past about adding members. I don't know who or what they can do. Maybe that could screw this up. Like, honestly, they're all killing it so far right now that I would leave it alone at the moment. And but yeah, ride this wave, man. I love that they were here too. Again, we talk about that lack of star power from NXT, and once again, you felt it when these guys showed up. Finn returning back home, and honestly, it was kind of beautiful. Everyone except Dom. It was kind of great to see.
They would have been cheered if it wasn't for Dom.
Yeah, if Dom wasn't there, they would have loved to see him, right? But Dom is getting so much nuclear heat that it doesn't matter. Wherever they go, he's going to turn it that way. That's why, again, as much as some people may not be a fan of Dom, I think you're lying through your teeth if you can't see the potential and just how good. It's crazy. His dad, all-time great babyface. Dom could be an all-time great heel, man. Honestly, he could be doing this for his whole career. That's just how much it seems like people hate him right now.
Well, like you said as well, with Hayes and Trick, who came out to a great reception, and it seems like Melo does need these guys who are a different level to who's around NXT at the time, and they challenged Balor and Priest to a match. I love the Prince. I mean, comes back to NXT, it seems, every year. But again, I'm not going to moan, and it's the house that he built, and he was walking with a bit more swagger, probably trying to pull it on to overshadow Priest a little bit. Like, oh yeah,
right.
This
is my house. Right here.
Dirty Dom, as always, could not speak over the entire audience. And it's weird to think at the Judgment Day, he's the only one, Dom, who's not been in NXT. Like, the one guy probably needs
the guy who seems like he needs the most time to develop, character and just do things on his own. You would think that he's the one guy who skipped that whole entire step. And again, like I said, knocking it out the park currently, man. It's very, very amazing to think.
Yeah. Well, the crowd was completely behind Andre Chase as he made his return to the ring. He teamed with MVP Duke to take on Gulak and Dempsey. Thea Howard, Gulak from the action with Kimura at ringside. Hudson and Chase hit the frat line on Charlie Dempsey to win, and they were over like Rover. Like I said, everything is good again in the Chase universe. Von Wagner thanked Mr. Stone for helping himself for the first time. Cora Jade beat Kalana Jordan. Dana chased Jade off after. Los Lotharios attempted a flirt with Feroz and Leone, but they were not interested. Dragon Lee and Nathan Fraser went, hey, they cornered us in the Heritage Cup. That meant something, all right? They're not just going to go with you guys. We've got a relationship. And then this is what I was surprised about, because we were talking about this, not on the pod, a couple of weeks ago, and I was thinking Bron Breakker versus Ilya Dragunov was a takeover level match. I was surprised we didn't see it at the Great American Bash, but I was surprised to see it on NXT television. The Mad Dragon, he took the win with a go. Dragunov dived right into a spear, barely managing to kick out. Ilya put it away after countering a spear with a high knee, followed by a low torpedo Moscow for the win. Like I said, this could have been on a PLE. This was just great. This is the future here, isn't it? This is a match that we will see these two compete for championship in years to come.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think, like what you mentioned, seeing this in a primetime spot, I think that kind of comes back to like what we were talking about, them needing that star power or needing these bodies in the main event picture right now, because honestly, the reason why I think it didn't happen at a premium live event is because it just made the most sense to do it now for the number one contendership spot, if you see what I'm saying. Because honestly, other than dragging off at this point, who is at that level? Who is believable enough to even challenge Melo at this point? You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I think that kind of played a factor, and I think, like you said, everything Braun has accomplished, beating everyone, basically, and doing everything he's done already so far, that kind of plays a factor into why we got this situation on NXT. But you're right, to get this in, not even in the main event, just a regular in the middle of the of NXT, it's like I felt spoiled, and I think the quality of the match spoke to that too. Like I saw Braun Breaker holding on with a guy like Seth and looked great, and I think the same thing happened here, man. He really, really looked great. And we talked about this before. It's something about dragging off whenever he's just completely outsized like this, but really dragging off in general, he's just awesome. But when he's going against a bigger guy, it brings the brutality up to another level. You know, he likes to lay it in a little bit harder, and I think the guys he's fighting tries to break him in half, and I think Braun definitely did try to do that a couple of times.
God,
so yeah, it was very, very beautiful to watch, and I really enjoyed it. Like you said, I think this is definitely something we can revisit down the line. And I think that's another great thing about Braun's run so far. He has, like you just mentioned, not only the history that he has with guys who's already on the main roster, but some of this run that he has on the way that he's having on his way out. Because I think we both know that eventually he will be called up and doing his own thing on the main roster. That he has a history with a lot of guys now that they can reference at some point and draw a conclusion to give Braun Breaker some interesting stuff to do down the line. And I have to say this was definitely one of my favorite matches of the entire batch of episode. I don't know if I probably would say I like this one a little bit better than even the Seth match. I don't know. This was really, really good.
The thing about it is that you're not, with like even with Seth and Braun, you're expecting like Seth to kind of raise him up.
Seth to win, yeah.
With this, it's just two guys. I mean, again, it's both spoke to each other. And let's just go hard, And it was like Ia takes so much punishment, and Braun looks like such a killer in this. I think my only thing that I was negative about was his facial hair. It's the only thing I didn't like in this entire match. I just
you don't like the little.
No, I don't like it. I want clean shaven. Braun, though, like you said, 79 matches in NXT, fair play. He needs to go on the main roster and, well, I'm not saying beat Austin Theory for the US title, but once he gets on there, he needs a plan. Because, like you said, the future, so I'm sure that they will. And Vic Joseph, as well, made a great point that every WWE champion at the moment, tag, US, etc., came through NXT. Which is again a great point when you think about it's 10 years of the Performance Center as well.
Amazing, right?
And when you think how much the Performance Center has changed wrestling in 10 years and NXT in itself,
Yeah, and like develop their own style underneath the WWE umbrella, their own style, their own brand, and for a long time, just like I know as a longtime fan, if you weren't on SmackDown and Raw, it didn't matter. Those were the end all be all. That's all that WWE was for a long time. But then when you think about when they created the Performance Center, when NXT became what it was from FCW, it was a completely different game, man. A completely different everything. And I think, like you said, to see, yes, I think in these 10 years, it's kind of funny. I got two minds on it because when watching and looking at all the 10-year posts, it was cool to look at the progression and see where a lot of these guys and gals have where they've become, where what they've become and where they come from and all that. To see that progression it's really, really cool to see that. But it's also when you're looking at that, you don't always get a chance to focus on a lot of the miscues. Like, it hasn't been perfect. There's a lot of things that have not worked out that's came out from the Performance Center, but the sheer amount of people and just talent that they've had come in and out of NXT, in and out of that Performance Center, and the fact that they just keep building more talent. That's another thing. Like, we still, even in the newer faces, we still see the potential and the flashes and the reason why they're there. And like I keep saying, the improvement, and all that improvement comes right back to the Performance Center.
Yeah, I think without a shadow of a doubt, it has changed wrestling as we know it. We then see Tiffany Stratton beating Ivy Nile. I'm impressed by both. Stratton was not happy about Chase Hughes' student section, chanting she tapped out. Duke Hudson and Andrew Chase encouraged Hale to fight for a rematch and win the NXT Women's Championship. Wesley sounded uncertain about facing Mustafa Ali in an interview. Mackenzie Mitchell, Dominic, Dirty Dom, challenged the NXT North American Championship, which we will see on the next update. Baron Corbin drove out somewhere in the woods with multiple torches, stood hopefully to find his future. Schism offered Niall a spot in the growing family. She told him to go fuck off. And then the fate of Tony D. Shannon Stacks Lorenzo beat Joe Coffey. It wasn't Stacks. You see, he's just an idiot for getting himself in a 3-on-1 situation. Thank fuck, I suppose, for Bar, you know. Bronco Lima and Lucien Price got in the face of Mark Coffey and Wolfgang at ringside. Apparently, this was to the extent of their promised NXT debut.
That's the debut.
That's the debut. But Stacks gets the win. So Tony D and Stacks versus Gallus. Are the Gallus boys in trouble come Great American Bash?
Yes. And it's not because of the quality or of the team that they're facing or anything. Honestly, I almost would be aggravated to death that they wasted all of this television time building up this family familial bond or whatever they got going on, love story between Tony D and Stacks, and then they just lose and we move on to more skits. Like, honestly, I think Gallus has to lose to them to make all of this crap worth it.
Well, we'll see what happens there. The main event, Carmella Hayes and Trick Williams versus Judgment Day, Damian Priest and Finn Balor. Priest tried to use a Money in the Bank briefcase against Hayes. Will Ilya Dragunov save the NXT champion? Mello knocked into him. This allowed the punishment to hit South of Heaven, and Finn Balor, le coup de grace, to pin the A champion twice, I think, in as many weeks. As for this then, I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, Judgment Day, like I said, so hot. Really good main event. But is Balor versus Hayes in the future? And is that overshadowing Ilya Dragunov's chance against Hayes in Great American Bash?
I'm of two minds. I think they did. I thought it was genius, though, to involve Dragunov and give him and Mello a kind of like, because I can already see the promo next week now of Mello basically telling Dragunov, stay out of my business and that type of thing and all of that. So, you know, that could possibly, I loved his involvement because of that. I thought it did give them something to actually have a problem with each other about, because honestly, other than the belt going into Great American Bash, they don't really have any reason to not really go at each other than just both of them wants to be the best. But yeah, 100%. I do think it's interesting, like you said, that Finn Balor has beaten him twice and it's clean and it's fine. Somewhere down the line, I'm not sure if it's gonna be. I don't know exactly when, but it does seem like Finn Balor versus Carmelo for the title should be in the cards at some point. But honestly, who knows at this point? Like, maybe this was all just a vehicle to also reinforce Judgment Day is together right now, because that's another thing that I thought was a positive, that if, you know, coming off what they did on Raw in a tag match together.
Always worries me, doesn't it, you? Like, we've watched wrestling enough to be like, the pattern on the head.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, God.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree. I can see it. It's just, I don't necessarily know. Honestly, I don't see that. I don't think it would be the end. I think either way, Mello would probably come out on top in that one, even though he's lost to him twice, because it just doesn't really make a lot of sense, in my opinion, to even give Finn Balor that belt, unless you're just going for the visual of one day getting the whole Judgment Day belted up at some point, I guess. But who knows?
It's like in Balor's contract to be an NXT champion every year.
Yes, he has to win the title. 6-time NXT champion.
It's in my contract. I gotta go to NXT. Win a title. But like, let's talk about it. It is interesting though, and like I said, it's
very interesting though.
These 6 episodes and Great American Bash coming up as well at the end of July. We know, like I said, Ilya Dragunov versus Carmella Hayes. We know it's going to be Tony and Stacks versus Gallus. Tiffany Stratton via Hale looks like it's possible.
Most likely.
Mustafa Ali and of course Wes Lee. So interesting times ahead. So what are your thoughts on this past batch of episodes, this past month or so, and what are your hopes going into Great American Bash?
I think my initial takeaway was like whoever booked NXT UK, and I used to always compliment the logic in their week to week booking, even in the vignettes. I think that they basically have definitely passed that on to NXT because even the segments I could care less about, uh, in all honesty, was really good. You know, and it made sense when it comes to like what they were doing. Like I don't really care about the Tony D stuff and how long they've kept this going on, especially when I know how the legal system works. But it's still interesting enough to where I'm like, okay, we're probably going to get a payoff at some point in the tag. You know, when it comes to the tag team titles. You know, Thea Hale, like you said, the ascension of her and like how good that she is, whether she ends up winning the title soon or not, she is 100% in a better position than she was at the beginning of the storyline. Uh, you know, even the insignificant, the not as important stories, you know, when it comes to like Gigi and Kiana, all of that stuff, it's been making logical sense, even if it isn't the greatest thing in the world. And so I do love what they've been doing on a week to week basis when it comes to their storytelling. And I think the best thing about it is it's so much more of an interesting show these days. And I don't know if it's just because of the main roster influence and having more of those talents on there. I think that definitely helps. But it's also just been the Heritage Cup quality of those matches, Wes Lee's run being continuous. But again, it's like whenever these runs by babyface are getting very good and interesting, and they've been long running, you're always looking around the corner like, damn, when is this time gonna run out? And I think that's kind of like where we at with Wes Lee, even though he's been doing great as champion. So I think it's been a lot of positives, man. Like you said, some of the strongest stuff, if you're just going off a week to week basis of like some of the strongest stuff in wrestling right now has been some of the stuff that they've been doing on NXT, even if it is completely different. And I think it's been different in a good way so far. But we'll see. We have to give it time. You know, I love the fact that they have overcome a lot of the garbage that we kind of had to go through. Like, yeah, some of it is still cringeworthy. Some of it is still okay. I probably wouldn't have did that, but it's completely leaps and bounds better than some of the stuff we had to sit through.
Yeah, like I said, I do, and again, I don't know what the old saying is about strong tide raises all ships or something like this, but WWE being so hot at the moment is going to help NXT in itself become, a better show. And I would say, finally, like this NXT now is probably the best NXT there's been since all the changes from Black and Gold. And even before that, you'd be hard pressed. Yes, maybe main event, NXT title challenges. But the women's division is good. I think maybe the strongest it's been in a long time. NXT Tag Team Division, there's a few teams there. And, of course, North American. And throwing the Heritage Cup with Nathan Fraser. Like you said, it's the hybrid NXT UK, NXT. But it is worth watching. And like I said, even the stuff that's not that great doesn't last long, You get through it.
Right. Yeah. None of it is upsetting to the point to where it's like, yeah, man, get this out of the way. Like it all, like you said, it doesn't stay too long. It doesn't bother you. And then I also can see where they're going in a lot of those cases too. Even with the newer talent, like that I remember them. You could tell some of the people in 2.0 when they were doing that. Some of the new faces they put on the screen, you can be like, why the hell did y'all put them? Why the hell you put them out there? And they're not ready for much. And you know what I'm saying? And now you can see that even if it is a 5-minute match or just a throwaway type of match, even with Kaylani debut and all of that, you see a little bit of the flashes of why she's on television. You know what I'm saying? So it's like now I can get behind some of this storytelling and some of the stuff that they have going on. And I think going forward, you're 100% right. Honestly, WWE's just been so good in general overall that it seems to be rubbing off on their storytelling too, because everything I just said about the logical next step in the storyline, I pretty much can say for the most part on the main roster too. They've been doing a really good job of taking that next step and it all making sense. So yeah, man, I'm very optimistic to see what the bash is going to look like and the fallout from that, or what we do going into that, how we lead up to it, and we're going to get Dragunov versus Melo, man. I honestly don't think they have to do much storytelling to get us there, but like, I can already see that match being absolutely insane. So I can't wait.
Yeah, it's you versus me again. You know, like they always do it.
Right. Yeah, here we go again, man. Here we go again.
Who's going to come out on top? Well, that is it for today. Like I said, NXT Update is always fun to do. Don't forget, we're across all social media, Twitter at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNR Jar. You can find the entire WNR team on the Twitter banner. Monty, where can people find and listen to you?
At Monty Pod on Twitter. My preview of the G1 is now going to turn into an update because life happens, and that's basically the only way I can explain it. But definitely check out my links on my Twitter page and go to YouTube, subscribe to Mind of Monty for more updates on what I'll be doing, what I'll be talking about. And yeah, man, I'm excited. G1 time, so I'm just watching wrestling almost 25 hours a day. Yes, I understand the mistake I made. I did it on purpose.
Double O on Facebook and Instagram across all Google platforms. Send us an email at doublepodcast@gmail.com. YouTube, Double O Podcast with all latest clips. Podcasts at the same time on YouTube. We do SoundCloud on your phone, also Spotify and iTunes, where you can download, subscribe, rate, and review there. So that is it. Our next episode, Monty, I'm giving you more wrestling to watch as well, because next weekend we are going to review SummerSlam 1992. Now, I'm hoping you're familiar with this event in itself. It's probably
yes, I am.
Biggest British, event in 30 years.
Yes, I'm familiar with it, and mostly the main event. So this will be my first time probably watching it in its entirety. Well, no, I think I saw the Road Warriors match, right? Didn't they come out on the motorcycles?
Yeah, they came out on the
like
motorcycles.
that day too.
You've got Undertaker coming out against Kamala as well, which is one of the most iconic entrances. Wow. And I think it's Macho and Ultimate Warrior kills the show midway through. Yeah, so it is.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting for me to go back to this era of wrestling, but it's gonna be cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be definitely different, and like I said, this is more, especially for Jackson and Gina, to kind of see this show and realize when we've got Wembley next month, and of course with SummerSlam just a couple of weeks away as well, just how important this event was in wrestling history. But until then, I have been James, and was joined by the Mind of Monty. And again, Monty, thank you very much for joining me and looking after our baby this month in NXT.
Anytime. Can't wait to keep the train moving, man. It's just every day is something new. So,
like I said, it is going to be busy on the WNR. We're going to have, like I said, the G1, SummerSlam, All In, and everything else thrown in. Of course, the Great American Bash on the next update. So it's good for you, be beside. And yeah, like I said, another great show.
Salute.
So that's it. Thanks for listening, everybody. And bye.